Alrighty, guys, let's go over this NFL Thanksgiving slate. I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving. I am, for one, excited. Thanksgiving is always fun. You have 3 showdown slates in one day. You have a main slate. It's just the best. But if you're from YouTube and you're watching this on YouTube, please come over to the subreddit DFS Sports, 1SDF Sports. As you can see here, I make posts for NBA and NFL. You can ask me questions on whatever you want. So yeah, make sure to come over to this subreddit. Um, you can ask me whatever you want. Um, excuse me. Yeah, you can ask me whatever you want. Always respond to you. If you ever need to get a hold of me, you can message me on Reddit, or you can get a hold of me on Twitter at ToryLangley1992. Either or, completely fine. And then if you are interested in joining my Discord, I will have a link to that below, where I'll have in-depth videos going over each slate, player pools for cash, GPPs, stuff like that, etc. So if that's something you are interested in, I will have a link to that below. And let's take a look at my lineups from this past Sunday. So we'll take a look at, what should we take a look at? This is the past week or so. We'll take a look at my cash. We'll take a look at showdown from the other night. Where is showdown? Where's the showdown? Showdown from the other night. I think that is what we will do. So this is my cash lineup this week. I went with Josh Allen, David Montgomery, Kenyon Drake, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, excuse me, Paris Campbell, Greg Dulcich, Dawson Knox, and Steelers defense. I won about, I don't know, I put like $250, $300 in. I made back like, I don't know, in total $450. So I won back about $150, which I would gladly take on this slate. I would gladly take that for this slate. Just a terrible slate. So I think that's a win. Extremely happy with it. And then we can take a look at my showdown lineup from that night, or Monday night. Is this Monday night? This was yesterday, I believe. This is my cash lineup. As you guys know, I go heavier on cash for showdown slates and for main slates. This is my cash lineup. Christian McCaffrey, captain with DeAndre Hopkins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brandon Ayuk, Robbie Gould, Trey McBride. I originally did have Rondale Moore here over Brandon Ayuk, but I had the money to get up to Brandon Ayuk. And I guess I got extremely lucky because Rondale Moore got injured. I finally ran good for once with an injury, which I would never want anyone to ever get injured. That's just, you should never be wishing injury on anyone. And if someone does get injured, don't go and bitch about it. You know, sometimes I'll troll saying they're in my lineup, but don't go and bitch about an injury. These are real people. But I got lucky there. So this was a really good weekend for me with NFL. I think I was pretty much up a lot. If you look at here, this was all this week. I shipped a soccer GPP too, so that was nice. But yeah, this was all this Sunday. I've been getting torched in NBA, so yeah, that was all this Sunday. Um, so let's go over the slate. We're gonna go. We'll go over cash games first. So we'll go over cash games and then we'll go team by team. So for cash games, I think, Josh Allen did not look good last week. His arm did seem to bother him, but I'm not too worried about that here. It's up against Detroit. Josh Allen still clearly has the highest floor and highest ceiling on the slate. So I'm playing Josh Allen in cash. Now, I definitely think you can consider Daniel Jones. It's not the best spot here for Daniel Jones, but he does have that rushing upside. He does have that rushing floor as well. His wide receiver situation is pretty bad, and I don't expect him to throw the ball here 44 times again. And I don't know what that running back situation was like for the Giants last week. That was just god awful. But I think Jones is viable, but I'm probably going to try to get up to Josh Allen. The pricing this week is pretty soft in my opinion, so I think this is a spot where you want to play Josh Allen, especially in cash games, in my opinion. Dak Prescott's viable too, but for me, Josh Allen, we roll with it. So Saquon Barkley in this matchup at this price, I know he's down $900 after getting troll. Let's go to the Giants. I mean, what was that? They used a burrito more than I expected. Saquon Barkley obviously got benched at the end of the game because of the blowout, I do believe. Um, yeah, they need to target him more. They need to give him more usage. I don't know why the usage went down. I think right now, personally for me, I think he's obviously a fine cash game play, but I'm probably going to be looking to spend down at running back this week for cash. I think personally my favorite cash game running back on the slate is Ramondre Stevenson at 6.4K. I think he's probably a cash game lock for me, so I'm going to throw him in my lineups for cash games. I think the usage is just absolutely insane right now for him. The price went down. This is the volume that we want for him. I think it's a favorable spot up against Minnesota as well. So I think Stevenson right now is my favorite running back play on the slate for cash games. This usage is what we want. We want 15 attempts. We want 5 to 8 targets. That's what we want for a running back. I don't want 20 plus rushing attempts. I don't. I want 12 to 15, and I want 5 to 8 targets. That's what I want. And that's what Stevenson's getting, even with Harris back. So I think Ramondre Stevenson looks absolutely phenomenal for cash. You can consider Tony Pollard. I think he's perfectly fine as well. If they go back to Zeke as the number one, they just fire everyone on Dallas. Please fire everyone. Tony Pollard is the much better back. Has been for years. I'm gonna assume they're gonna continue to use him as the number one back. They did last week, so I'm gonna assume they continue to do. So I think the only issue here is Ezekiel Elliott's always going to be the goal line back, so that is the only issue. That definitely hurts his ceiling, but I think Tony Pollard's completely fine for cash. Jamal Williams, I think, is kind of thin for cash, just because he's pretty touchdown reliant, so I don't think I'll be going there in cash games. I think the other cash game running back that might look the best to me, and I know it's disgusting, is Devin Singletary at 5.7K. He's the clear number one back on Buffalo right now. I think we can expect around 20 touches for him, like the spot against Detroit. So he might be my second favorite running back on the slate. Stevenson, obviously I like Pollard straight up over Singletary, but point per dollar, I might prefer Singletary. It's tough. I haven't messed with builds, but everyone is viable. I probably wouldn't play Cook in cash in this matchup. Barkley is definitely viable, which was a better spot. Stevenson, obviously my favorite. Jamal Williams, I think, is thin for cash. And then, did I just say Pollard? Yeah. Pollard, Stevenson, Devin Singletary. I'd probably go with two of those three. Or if things change, I might get up to Barkley. I don't know. But like I said, I wish the spot was better for Barkley. And after seeing Breida being involved, that definitely doesn't help. Sorry about that. I'm going to stop doing that. On to the wide receivers. So JJ is obviously viable for cash, but you play Stephon Diggs, in my opinion, on this slate. You play him, you move on. Just has the highest floor, highest ceiling combo out of the wide receivers on this slate. I think Stephon Diggs is going to be a lock for me for cash games. Now, I don't think you have to certainly play him. I don't think he's an absolute smash lock, but I mean, come on. Josh Allen's his quarterback. He's going up against Detroit. Detroit has the offense to put up points to keep them close in this game. You could see an absolute eruption from Stephon Diggs here. So yeah, I will be trying to get Stephon Diggs in my lineup. Not good what they did with CeeDee Lamb last week. Not good what they did with the passing game at all last week. They ran the ball just a million times. Now, I still think CeeDee's a solid cash game play, but that is definitely concerning. Amon-Ra St. Brown is my second favorite wide receiver for cash on this slate. I think you just play Diggs. I think you play Amon-Ra St. Brown, in my opinion. Expectation of targets for him is 8+ pretty much every week. Just a clear number one for Jared Goff, and the floor plus ceiling combo for him is just absolutely fantastic. So Amon-Ra St. Brown looks great. For cash, Gabe Davis is thin. Jacoby Myers, I think, is a solid cash game play at 5.1K. He's always going to get peppered with targets. And then going down further, we just have to talk about the Giants. So Wendell Robinson is obviously out. Richie James just got moved to questionable. Who are they going to throw the ball here to? I think all of these New York Giants wide receivers are definitely viable for cash games. Let's just pull up the depth chart. So let's take a look here. So Wendell Robinson out. Richie James questionable. Sterling out, obviously. So who are they going to throw the ball here to? It's surely not going to be one of these tight ends. So I think Slayton's viable for cash. I think Galladay is kind of thin. With I don't think I'd go there in cash games, but assuming Richie James plays, I think he's the punt wide receiver of the slate. Personally for me. So if you're looking for value, I'm expecting him to play. If you're looking for value, Richie James is that guy for now. And then if he is out, we'll just have to figure out that situation, and I will make updates to the post. So there is Slayton, Richie James, I think are both good cash game wide receivers. I do. So there is value for cash. And then for tight end, it's very clearly Dawson Knox at 3.5K. He's just too cheap. Been very good. His targets have gone up. I don't expect that to change here. If you're playing cash, just throw Dawson Knox in your lineup. Defense, you can play anyone this week. Whatever fits, I don't really care. It's up to you. Personally, I would like to play the Patriots if you can get the $3,000. If you can, but if not, I think the Giants are definitely fine for cash, and I think the Lions are even fine for cash. Josh Allen definitely is turnover prone, so yeah. Let's go over this slate now, just regularly. So obviously, I think Josh Allen is your best quarterback on the slate. Now he's not a must in GPPs, but he's going to be extremely, extremely, extremely high owned. Yeah, love Josh Allen. Devin Singletary, I think is a fine tournament play and cash game play. He's the clear back on this team. James Cook did get involved last week. I don't expect that to change, but was that last week? Was that? Yeah, it was, and it was against Cleveland. He looked really good, but everyone torches Cleveland, so this is a different spot. It is up against Detroit, one of the better matchups in the league anyway. But if I was Singletary, I'd have to look at ownership. We'll see. I might go to a lower owned running back, but Singletary is the clear running back one on this team. I think it looks solid, especially against Detroit. Everyone's going to be focusing on Buffalo on the slate, so Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, I think make for two of the better plays on the slate. Stephon Diggs only had 5 targets last week, but I'm not too worried about that. I think Josh Allen having an extra week to rest will definitely help. One of the best spots. Detroit's been a fantasy carnival, like I said. Stephon Diggs is probably going to be a must for me, personally, in GPPs and in cash games. Gabe Davis, now that the price went down to 5,300, I think is a very, very strong play. 10 targets, 7 targets past 2 weeks. So 17 targets over the past 2 weeks, has an insanely high ceiling. Gets targeted down the field. Yeah, what's not to like about Gabe Davis this week? Now that the price went down, I think he looks great. So love this double stack with Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Outside of that, I don't think I'm going to go anyone else on Buffalo. And then Dawson Knox, I think looks like point per dollar the best tight end play on the slate, in my opinion. 13 targets over the past 2 weeks. Josh Allen's completely relied on him. The touchdowns are going to come. He does get targeted in the red zone as well. So I think his floor plus ceiling is just out of this roof at that price tag. I think he's just too cheap. So yeah, Dawson Knox, love. Everyone's going to be playing Buffalo, but for good reason. Jared Goff, I don't hate on the slate for GPP. So Jared Goff, the Detroit Lions can put up points. 31 points, 27 points, 45 points, 24 points, 36 points. They have just been an absolute fantasy carnival this year, and they can stay close with Buffalo. I believe they can. So I don't really think there's any risk here. I think at 5.2K, I think Jared Goff is a completely fine quarterback play on the slate. Jamal Williams is more of the listen. It's going to depend on ownership for me. If he is going to be higher owned, I want absolutely zero Jamal Williams in GPPs just because he's more touchdown reliant. But if he's going to be lower owned, then yeah, I'm completely fine with Jamal Williams, and I would like him for GPPs. But with him being touchdown reliant, if he is going to be popular, I want absolutely nothing to do with Jamal Williams. The way they're using Swift right now is an absolute crime, so it's really hard to go there. They're running Justin Jackson more, so this running back situation is just absolutely disgusting. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, one of my favorite players in the NFL. Expectation of targets is 8 plus. Absolutely love him in cash and in GPPs. Will probably be the most popular bring back option for Buffalo stacks. I'm not going to get to any other wide receivers on the Detroit side, in my opinion. And so ever since Hawkinson left, they are not going to be throwing to their tight ends, and they haven't been throwing to their tight ends. So I think it's really, really hard to get to any of the Detroit tight ends. On the Giants side of things, so Daniel Jones, obviously, I think I'm fine with it for cash. I'm fine with it for GPPs. It's not the best spot here up against Dallas, who has a very, very good defense. But if you want to go there, I'm completely okay with it. Saquon Barkley, like I said, a tough spot here against Dallas. Concerning with the Matt Breida usage from last week, concerning with the excuse me, with the targets when they were down. He should have gotten a lot more targets with them being down last week. Obviously, got scripted out with the rushing attempts, but with them being pretty much down in a blowout. But he should have been targeted a lot more, in my opinion. But I'm fine with Saquon. I think he's fine. Wish the match was better. Wide receivers, like I said, Slayton I think looks like a very good play. I think Reggie James, assuming he plays, looks like a very good play. Kenny Galladay's the GPP play between these bunches, and then we'll figure out what happens if Richie James is out. Not going to get to any of the tight ends. On the Dallas side of things, so I think Dak Prescott is my second favorite quarterback on the slate. Definitely concerning that he only threw the ball 25 times last week. They definitely wanted to establish the run. That is definitely concerning, but I think if we're gonna go back to that expectation of targets of them throwing the ball 30 plus times, I'm fine with that. It is a division rivalry game up against the Giants, so fine with that. Tony Pollard, so please, just please let Tony Pollard be the number one. If they go back to Zeke being the number one, it's an absolutely fireable offense. It is the most fireable offense I've ever seen in the league if they go back to Ezekiel Elliott being the number one. Now, like I said earlier with cash games, Zeke is always going to be that inside the five guy. He's always going to be that ground and pound guy where they're going to go to inside the five for that touchdown upside. So that definitely does hurt Tony Pollard, but Tony Pollard is just going to do everything right. He's going to be involved in the pass game. He's probably going to have an expectation of 20 plus targets with how they want to establish the run. So I do like Tony Pollard a lot on this slate for GPPs. Wide receiver, it's really up to you. It's like I would like CeeDee Lamb a lot. If you think they're going to throw the ball a lot more than they did last week. But if they're going to run the ball like they did last week, it's really hard for me to get to any of these wide receivers. Like I said with Dak Prescott, it's going to be hard for me to get to him if we're going to expect him to only throw the ball 25 times here. Because he doesn't have rushing upside. Like, he can run the ball, but he doesn't have rushing upside. Like, he's a mobile quarterback. But it's really up to you on whether you think they're going to throw the ball more or if they're going to run the ball. Obviously, they were blowing out Minnesota, so they didn't have to throw the ball much. But in the beginning of the game, they were definitely establishing the run a lot more than throwing the ball. So I think regardless if that game stayed close, they were probably going to run the ball all game regardless, even if it was a closer game. Obviously, they wouldn't if they were down, but so yeah. I think that it's going to be different this week. I think they're going to go back to throwing the ball a little bit more. Obviously, the blowout definitely hurt that last week. But it is concerning that they were running the hell out of the ball before the blowout. So I like CeeDee. Gallup, I think he's fine. I'm probably not going to go to anyone else. And then I think Dalton Schultz at 3.8K is a very good play with Dak Prescott back. He's Dak Prescott's safety blanket, right? So I do like Dalton Schultz, especially if everyone's going to go to Dawson Knox. So yeah. So on to this New England Minnesota game. This is the clearly lowest total game on the slate. On the New England side, I'm not getting to any of these guys. As I said before, I think Ramondre Stevenson is my favorite running back on the slate. Absolutely love him with his usage. I'm fine eating that chalk in GPPs. I think Jacoby Myers is a good cash game play. I'll probably fade in GPPs, but I do like him for cash games. Tight end, not going to get to anyone. And then let's go over Minnesota. So obviously, New England plays slow. They like to run the ball. They like to kill clock. So this game is just not appealing to me at all. If you want to go to Kirk, I'm completely okay with it. But my God, did he look awful last week? Not the best spot against for Dalvin Cook, but Dalvin Cook, he just needs one play to get there, right? He can bust an 80-yard run and get there with one play. So Dalvin Cook is in play for tournaments. I'm not going to get there in cash games though. Justin Jefferson is matchup proof, so if you want to go there in GPPs, I'm completely okay with it over like a chalk Stephon Diggs. I think that's definitely interesting. Adam Thielen last week only had 3 targets after having pretty much 7+ targets all season long. Not worried about that. I think he'll go back to his 7+ target range. I think he's fine. Katie Osborne is the extremely pants off GPP play. If you want to go there, that's cool. TJ Hawkinson. So listen, TJ Hawkinson, if he's going to continue to average 9+ targets, he's going to get into the end zone at one point. And with everyone going to Dawson Knox and everyone possibly going to Dalton Schultz, why not pay up to be contrarian? Why not pay up a little bit more just to get to an under-owned TJ Hawkinson that's getting 9 targets a game that will eventually get into the end zone at one point? So I think TJ Hawkinson is the ultimate GPP play on this slate. And that'll be it, guys. I hope this video helped you out, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow and on Thanksgiving.